That's it, we just want to win for our team.
My goodness! And everyone finishes it!
Yeah, we're just as good as the men, or better.
It's a huge point for the Bay Area.
Good chance that's the #1 highlight of the week.
It's about that time to break forth the rhythm and the rhyme. My name is Ryan Willard, and this is Major League Table Tennis. I'm in Lawrenceville, New Jersey, home of the Princeton Revolution, and this is week 12 of the regular season of Major League Table Tennis. I just want to know from my crowd here, are you guys ready for this? Yeah, they are. This is New Jersey, baby, so we have to call out our umpires to get this going. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your umpire, Jovana Nejevic, who will be assisted by Walter Lamb. And you have just wandered into the final Eastern Division weekend right here in New Jersey. Our first team coming out is in first place. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Carolina Gold Rush! That is Enzo Angles, Romain Lorenz, Bastien Dupont, Jeremy Hazien, Hong Lin, and Cobra Kai Jung! And you got to be wondering who they're going up against, who they might be facing. Well, they're going up against Chicago's very own. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Chicago Wind! That is Damian Provost, Sasha Khanin, Daniela Pinto, Timothy Wong, Emily Tan, and Alex Kazaku. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to get crazy right here, so don't go anywhere. But right now, let's shake hands and let's get down with the get down.
It has been an exhilarating 6+ month journey, and we have now arrived at the final East Division weekend of the regular season. We are inside the Alumni Gymnasium on the campus of Rider University.
Okay, so if you're just watching along here,
New Jersey is the site, and you can already see us. Evan Lepler, Matt Hetherington, delighted to be with you. The stakes are significant as we begin this final weekend of the regular season. Hi again, everybody. Matt, this is going to be really interesting to watch. We got 3 teams basically battling for 2 spots. Obviously, we'll see Florida and Princeton later tonight. They are the 2 teams locked in that race for the 2 spot. The Carolina Gold Rush, mathematically, they would clinch pretty soon, but Chicago's here to try to play spoiler, and there's a lot on the line this weekend.
Yeah, and we've seen teams make huge runs in one weekend before. We've seen it on both the East and the West Coast. Chicago, they raised their level in Broward, at the Broward Table Tennis Club in Florida a couple of rounds ago. They beat the Carolinas, so they've done it before. Let's see if they can do it again. This is a huge match for both teams.
Let's take a look at the lineups this evening. Well, first we'll check the standings coming into the weekend. Carolina, 47 points clear of Princeton, 50 points ahead of Florida. Chicago not mathematically eliminated just yet, but the Wind have a lot of work to do. They need to win this match like 19-2 to have a chance realistically. Now the schedule, Matt, you said earlier you really like this lineup tonight. Why?
Well, we're not going to delve too much into the fantasy league yet, but certainly singles number 1 is looking pretty good. I mean, we've seen some fantastic matches before between Damian Provost and Enzo Angles. Of course, Damian won the match on his birthday. It's not his birthday today, but we'll see how he fares this time. I mean, yeah, looking at the lineups, Sasha Khanin and Roman Lawrence, that's going to be a thriller as well. And of course, singles too. I mean, we've seen, this is the 3rd time we're seeing Tim and Jeremy come up against each other. They've split 1 match each, so this is a bit of a decider between the 2 of them as well.
Well, the Carolina Gold Rush have not officially clinched anything, but they basically need just 5 points to guarantee themselves a playoff spot. They need 17 points to guarantee themselves first place, and that's over the course of the weekend, where there are 63 points up for grabs. So it would take a catastrophic weekend for Carolina standards for them not to take the 1 seed out of the East and be the heavy favorite going into the championship. But
I would say on average throughout the season so far, Enzo's probably won that many points on a weekend by himself.
That is absolutely true. I mean, you look at the numbers for Enzo. He's the number 1 pick in the draft, and he has absolutely lived up to the billing. He has won nearly 80% of all games he's played across singles and doubles. He is right up near the top of the league in Golden Game points won. He's number 2 in Golden Game point percentage. Ironically, Damian Provost is number 2 behind Enzo in the East Division in terms of Golden Game point percentage success. And you mentioned Damian's win back in October on his birthday. Let's see how he fares today. Here we go. Final weekend of the East Division season is underway. The 5 matches all include 3 games to 11. Each game is worth 1 point.
Oh, already some firepower from Enzo to get things started. And one of the things that Enzo's talked about struggling with in this matchup is the pace difference. Damian Provost tends to play a little bit softer, a little bit slower pace.
Why would the slower pace be something that challenges Enzo? Just because he's not used to it?
Yeah, I think generally when you're playing high-level table tennis, you get used to playing really fast exchanges, dealing with a lot of power. I think that's part of the reason Damian's had such great success with a lot of the players here on the East Coast. I mean, if you look at the West, players have the same problem with Nikhil Kumar. The style that he plays is lots of pace changes and variations, so it can be difficult to get into a rhythm.
Nice hit by Angles, and Provost is back within 1. Damien was unavailable during the February East Division MLTT weekend in Winter Haven, Florida. So this is Damien's first action since early January. Remember that early January match, Matt? There was a notable match. Chicago coming from behind to win the Golden Game. They were down 9-6 going into the Golden Game, so they started with a 3-0 deficit. That was the first match of 2024. And that was the last time we've seen a team come from behind to win the Golden Game. 23 straight Golden Games since. The team that's ahead has won, which is staggering.
And so looking pretty comfortable out there so far. You can see Damien's always focusing on changing pace, changing angles.
What stands out to you from this entire season watching Enzo, considering that it doesn't really seem like he has a bad day? Yeah, he's lost a few matches 2-1. He's never been swept. But he always plays at a high level, and he almost always sets the tone in that first single spot for Carolina. Gives them an early lead to work with.
I think, honestly, the main thing for him is that he manages to recover really well. I mean, last time we saw him, you know, the first game in the doubles that he played was like a wipeout. The singles was the same. But he just finds a way to fight back. And, you know, in the post-match interviews, he'll tell you when he feels like he's not playing well. But for us, he's still playing great. So it's more about how he plays on the days when he's not feeling great. The standard is on par with the best players in the league.
Of the 6 weekends that he has competed in so far, the 5 East weekends and then the 1 interdivisional weekend, February was his second poorest performance, and he went 6-3 in singles and 8-1 in doubles.
Yeah.
That was his second poorest. I mean, that's a pretty high bar for your basement. Jumped out to the early lead, and Enzo on the march toward the opening point here for Carolina. MLTT fantasy players recognizing that Enzo is getting more and more expensive as the season goes along. You have $10,000 to select 8 players, and I think Enzo was a season high 2,700 and change, which is obviously more than a quarter.
Yeah.
It's basically a third of your entire budget. But my guess is most people
you have
see
to.
Provost with a beautiful response there. Yeah, I mean, you just can't not have it because he's such a sure thing from a fantasy standpoint.
That was my biggest mistake in the cross division, was thinking that Enzo was too expensive. But
and then he went 10-2 in singles and 10-2 in doubles and 21-9 in the Golden Game.
I mean, he's a, in terms of fantasy league points, he's a team of his own out there almost.
Ferocious forehand there. Game point.
Takes the first game, 11-5.
First game, Gold Rush.
We are off and running here from the Garden State. First glimpse for the fans in New Jersey of the #1 player in the league. And Enzo, as usual, has the Gold Rush off to a fantastic start.
Who loves my man Enzo Angles? Someone's saving for Enzo. That's the pocket. She's got a shirt.
So Enzo Angles picks up his 44th point in singles this season. That is easily #1 in the league.
Second game.
Collet has a higher
Gold rush,
singles
serve,
winning percentage,
0-0.
but he missed a couple weekends, so Collet is at 35 points in singles for the Portland Paddlers. Certainly championship weekend, the end of April. If the Paddlers can get there, it's a showdown in singles that a lot of people would look forward to.
1.
If the coaches are kind enough to give it to us in a potential
Sure
semifinal
they are.
or championship
Yeah.
game. One of the things I started thinking about coming into this weekend, Matt, is what types of strategies the coaches will use. Oh, that catches
Flips the
the
back
edge,
edge.
and Angles is
One,
rolling right now.
goal.
At championship weekend,
Win.
every point does not matter. You just need to get to 11.
Yeah.
So do you take, if you're a coach, I don't know if you're Christian Lily Rose or Alex Young, the coach of Carolina, do you want to have your top player match up with the other team's second best player? I don't know. Angles lunging
2-1.
unsuccessfully. Provost takes a 2-1 lead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's in the back of their minds, but a lot of the teams,
Portland needs to get there first.
yeah, right now they just want to get there.
Let's.
We mentioned Chicago's win over Carolina in January. That was their only win over the Gold Rush this year in their 5-team matchups. Carolina's won 4 out of 5. And with a point that Enzo got to start tonight. Great rally.
Huge backhand from Enzo Angles.
Satisfying fist pump from the Frenchman
2-2.
for the first point tonight. Enzo and Carolina against Chicago this year in the aggregate are outscoring the
Gold rush.
Wind 70-33 across their 5 matches and the 1 point today.
Two, three.
Now we did see Angles lose a singles match a month ago. Jishan Leon got him. See Princeton against Carolina tomorrow. Obviously, there's a
2.
huge storyline this weekend with Princeton in Florida. Just 3 points separating the Crocs and the Revolution in the standings. This is the final weekend of the regular season. They will have their head-to-head tonight.
I think the fact that they're opening the weekend with that match is going to put a lot of pressure on both teams.
Princeton has been the better team in the second half of the season,
Yeah.
whereas Florida got off to a great start and has faded. So, but there's just 3 points separating them. They're virtually even.
Let's.
If Florida somehow wins tonight 12-9 by that margin, then they would be completely tied heading into the final 2 days of competition in the regular season.
4, 4.
Angles clips the net in that exchange. I think Enzo's looking a lot more comfortable with the timing.
Provost, the more experienced of these two, he's about 11 years older.
Oh, the counter from Provost.
4, 5.
That's when he really starts to pick up the pace, when he's hitting the ball early in the bounce. Always cuts that kind of hook out to the forehand.
We're tied 5-all here in game 2. was riding the elevator with Eric Owens, the coach of the Wind, earlier this afternoon back at the hotel, and reminded Eric that mathematically the Wind are still alive for a playoff spot. Now they need to basically go 60-3 for the weekend to have a realistic chance. And even then, it would be an unlikely scenario. But they begin the weekend still alive. I mean, Chicago's had its moments this year. I mean, clearly they've struggled in doubles. That has been a spot where their performance they've won the second fewest doubles games in the league. Only Princeton has won fewer. But Princeton has the best singles record in the league, even better than Carolina. You know, Chicago, from a singles standpoint, just a smidge below 500. So, to answer my own question, it's really the Golden Game.
It was. I think it was. And up until the cross division, even Eric Owens himself, he admitted that the Golden Game had been the biggest issue for them. Here's Enzo on the attack again.
5-9.
His ability to be consistent with so much power at the same time just allows him to keep piling the pressure on. Yeah, I mean, I think they did improve in the Golden Game towards the kind of the middle. When we got to the cross division, they played really well. Obviously, they had their win over Carolina's last time. Yeah, I think it's difficult to say what's been the biggest factor for them.
Now 6 of the last 7 points for Angles. He sets up a handful of game points here to take a 2-0 lead.
I would say, I think, having the top team lineup has been really important. We've seen that with Bay Area Blasters when they finally have Tao Wen-Zhang, Ma Jinbao, and Lachine all together. So I know Sasha wasn't here for a couple of rounds.
Damien missed February.
Yeah, Damien missed February. So having the top lineup, but I think also just the team spirit. I think when you look at momentum shifts, Princeton Revolution have kind of grown into that really energetic team spirit, and it's made such a big difference.
That'll do it for game 2. Angles trailed 5-4. Finishes winning 7 of the last 9, and he's got a 2-0 lead. He's played 20 singles matches this season. He has won 17 of them. Not bad. Interesting to see in between games there, Matt, how even after 2 pretty convincing wins, Carolina coach Alex Yang clearly bringing multiple points to Enzo's attention for game number 3.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you know this better than anyone, but we've seen on plenty of occasions players win the first 2 games and then not win the third. So, you know, part of that responsibility is with the coaches to keep the players focused, to make sure that, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a professional league, and that professionalism has to be in every different part of it. So, you know, it's very easy in a lot of matches in the US where you might go back to a coach after winning the first 2 games and they're like, oh, you're doing fine, keep doing what you're doing. But, you know, especially against a player like Damien Provost, you absolutely can't let your guard down at all. The real challenge for Enzo here is finding gaps in the table where he can apply more force to the ball. I mean, we've seen what happens if Enzo plays with full power and Damien's racket and his balance is behind the ball. It's, you know, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice almost. Great fade there from Angles.
Win.
Oh, you alluded, Matt, to the analytics that I feel like I should bring in now. Players that have a 2-0 lead, how have they fared in game number 3 this year? They've completed the sweep about 62% of the time. But there has been a disparity in the East Division success versus the West Division success. West Division players have completed the sweep more frequently than East Division players. And that's been a trend that emerged from the very start of the season and has continued all the way through.
4, gold rush.
Provost off to a good start here in the third.
Of course, even when Carolina clinches or Chicago's officially eliminated, there is literally money on the line every game of every match.
Well, not only that, but
for the players and the teams.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing for the players is that the draft for season 2 is very, very impressive. There's over 200 players in the draft right now.
Have you seen the list?
I've seen some of the players on the list, and pretty exceptional. So there are some high-level players that want to get into season 2 of MLTT.
Are you on the list? Are you throwing your hat in the ring?
No, my hat stays on my head at all times. And yeah, obviously teams right now are in a position where they can choose to keep some players and they can release some players back into the draft pool. So regardless of whether the team's in or out, especially the players that haven't been winning, they still very much have something to prove, right? To keep their positions in these teams.
Unlike this year for the inaugural season, the commissioner, Flint Lane, and everybody else is still figuring out exactly what the format next year is going to be. Will there be changes, etc.? But there won't be 64 players drafted next year.
Correct.
There'll be a bunch of players retained. But how many on each team? That'll vary across the league. It'll be interesting to see how that transpires. Wong and Hazien coming up. Provost letting a little frustration go on that ball. You see, send it into the practice area. That's now 4 straight points for Angles.
Enzo's just looked really calm but confident. He's not as fiery as some of the matches we've seen him in, but at the same time, you can kind of just see the confidence in his shots. Provost getting in the forehand. Trails by 1 here in the third game. Very much to like to put a point on the board for Chicago win team. And drops the ball onto the net.
All. Win to serve.
Counts the same for Provost.
Enzo only had time to flinch at that one.
No win by 2 in MLTT. So it's first to 11 straight through.
You can see Provost, he starts into the rally. First shot's quite slow to the backhand. You don't want to, you could see that Enzo kind of sometimes matches the pace. When you get a slow ball, you've got to go on the attack.
7.
This is kind of a trap that Provost sets to lull you into his pace of the game. Good group of spectators here at Rider University. I would anticipate we could have a much fuller house at 7 this evening for
7,
the
8.
very important Crocs versus Princeton match.
Get the sense that the Revolution are going to have pretty good home court advantage. Now, whether that translates to success, we'll see, because it has been a hit or miss thing throughout the season. Portland took advantage of it. Florida did early in the season, struggled at home
8.
January, February. Seattle certainly struggled at home.
Texas
Struggled at home in October. Chicago struggled at home in November.
Yep. Provost up over the
9.
table. That's a couple of slightly lucky points in a row for Angles, but he's really going for his shots. 2 hands in the air.
8, 9.
This is the 3rd meeting in MLTT in a singles match between Damien and Enzo. There's never been a sweep between these two guys. Provost trying to keep it that way.
9.
Enzo did such a good job of getting that ball back, but just a little high. Not really much you can do to control the height in that situation. You can see the hook that Provost puts on that ball.
Good grin on Enzo's face as that shot was whistling past. All right, 9-all. 2 serves for Angles, a chance to win it on his paddle and prevent Provost from serving again in the match. Oh, what a response.
9.
That's a Damien specialty right there.
Angles frustrated with the placement there. It's like I was saying earlier, you play full power to the racket of Damien. He immediately pointed towards the middle of the table.
Game point for Provost. And that'll do it. Provost able to salvage game 3 against Angles. The strong finish, taking a couple points on Angles' serve. So Chicago's on the board. Carolina gets another match victory from Enzo. And the likely league MVP again has the Gold Rush off to the early lead. We are joined by Enzo Angles, the star for the Carolina Gold Rush. Enzo, good to see you. How are you?
I'm as good as my both mistakes at 9-9.
I understand that those things are most foremost on your mind, but it felt like you were pretty calm at the start of that match. What has been your mindset as you try to set the tone for your team in the first game of the match, the first game of a weekend? You've done a great job with this all season long.
Yeah, but I have to keep going. This is charity game. The last I just give for free. It's mine, and I'm pissed because it's not only for me, for the weekend, for everything. It's also for all the season. And I want to finish first. So
Is this something that you will kind of, do you try and shut this out of your mind and move on, or do you try and use this as fuel? Does this motivate you?
I don't want to take out anything because, I mean, I admit I want this, so it's fine. I mean, I ran with this since the beginning of the season, and it's all good. Just I did 2 mistakes today, but I mean, that's fine. I still won, you know. But
aside from those 2 mistakes, how would you assess your level for that match?
Good. I think physically very good. I'm very glad because I work daily, and I'm glad to see my physical that is keeping going like that, and yeah, my level. I feel my level much better.
Before we let you go, do you have friends and family in the crowd? I thought I saw some signage tribute to...
No. That's just my practice club. So as I practice there and I'm there a lot, I made some friends there, yeah.
All right. Well, they'll be rooting for you in doubles in the Golden game. See you then. Thanks, Enzo. All righty. Always interesting to hear from Angles. Look, I appreciate his frustration.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we don't get to see that. We don't get to see that in table tennis interviews.
Because you only chat with people after they win.
Yes, and this is an even more unique situation because he still won.
Yeah.
But it's all about the points. So you can have somebody who's won a match who comes off the table and is still pissed off because he knew exactly what he needed to do in those last 2 points. And yeah, didn't hit the mark on the first one. Unforced error on the second. So, you know, when you're in a position where you know that you can win 3-0, winning 2-1, I mean, this is the standard that he's set for himself. And when he doesn't meet that bar, it's like I said, we've seen him in post-match interviews where we think he's played a great match, and he's like, well, I didn't feel like I played that well. So, you know, that's one of the things that has taken him to the top of the league, is the standard that he sets for himself.
He's won exactly 75% of his singles games now. He's 45-15 for the season, but he wants to be 46-14, or he probably wants to be 60-0.
Yeah.
Let's shift our attention to the second singles match. Hazien and Wong is underway. Every point won so far by the server. That streak changes there as Wong earns the point off the net ball. We've seen these two guys play each of the past couple of months. Hazien won 2 out of 3 in January. Wong turned the tables and won 2 out of 3 in February. Wong just won both points on Hazien's serve. So for folks who are catching up, talk us through the styles of each of these guys and who has the edge in your mind.
Yeah, so Tim's a very consistent player. Plays with a lot of control spin. We've started to see him play with a little bit more power on the backhand recently. And he's obviously been practicing a lot. He's been getting in better shape. He's talked about how motivated he is to practice more for Major League Table Tennis. And so we've seen him kind of gradually improve more and more each round. And then by contrast, you have Jeremy, who's unbelievably solid controlling the table. He stays right up on the table, blocks a lot, moves the ball around a lot. He's actually been in Saarbrücken in Germany for the last month, practicing at one of Germany's top clubs in order to prepare for, I guess, the Olympic qualification events that are coming up. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see how things go. It's a big advantage to go overseas and to train, but it can also hurt you in the short run as well, because you come back and the environment's different, the people that you're playing against are different. So sometimes those periods of high intensity training can take longer to translate into matches.
7-4.
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, both these players have represented their countries in the Olympics already. Hazien, the Canadian, competed for the Canadian national team. Tokyo Olympics in 2021. He called it his career highlight.
5-7.
Tim Wong a little bit further removed from his Olympic experience.
2012 London and 2016 Rio. Right now, Tim Wong is looking pretty in control. We've seen a lot of unforced errors from Jeremy. Tim's doing a great job of moving Jeremy around. Obviously, Hazien's a player that likes to hold the table. So he plays really well across the
9,
middle third of the
5,
table,
win.
inside the confines of the table, but once you start pushing him a little bit wider, push him out of position more, then he can struggle a bit.
Great stuff from Tim
10,
Wong.
5.
Sets up a bunch of game points. I might have misspoke before, Matt. I don't know if I did, but Tim Wong took 2 out of 3 in January over Hazien. Hazien returned the favor in February. I might have inverted those two things. And the eagle eye fact checkers out there probably
6,
all over me in the
10.
comments. I just want to set the record straight.
You mean Sean in the YouTube chat?
No, Sean is not the person I'm referring to as the eagle eye fact checker. But I do appreciate Sean's passion and enthusiasm in the chat. 2
7,
straight game
10.
points saved for Hazien.
Tim Wong gets it done.
11-7 in game 1, and on the team tally, Carolina was up 2-0. Enzo thought it should be 3-0. And that's a big reason why, because all of a sudden right now it's 2-2, and Tim Wong's looking pretty sharp. Inside out forehand to finish this opening game off against Jeremy Hazien. So the 3-time U.S. national champion, Tim Wong, has taken the opening game in the second singles match against Jeremy Hazien.
Second
Wong,
game.
32 years
Weak
old,
serve.
originally from Houston, Texas.
0,
Now living
0.
out in Colorado. I got to imagine there were some nerves about whether he'd be able to get here because the snow in the Rocky Mountains over the past few days has been
I don't miss
crazy.
that.
I read somewhere that parts of Colorado were going to see 4 feet of snow this past
0.
week.
Yeah, it can get pretty pretty intense out there. I mean, this tends to clear up pretty quickly once the sun comes out, but yeah, flying can be a bit of a nightmare out of Colorado. I
1,
lived in
1.
Denver for 1 year. I actually lived with Tim.
I did
That's
not realize that.
Back in 2019. I think from a tactical standpoint, Tim was kind of all over the first game. He played everything pretty well.
What kind of a roommate was Tim?
He's great. It's great. It's good fun.
1,
Good fun to live with. I mean, we kind of went through similar trajectories to get to that point. Tim and me, we actually both lived in New Jersey at the same time as well. When he was building up to the Olympic trials in 2016. So that's how we got to know each other. But it's honestly, for me, I mean, Tim's career has gone through such an interesting arc where obviously, you know, he's a player who was kind of blazing a trail. There weren't many players that were trying to play full-time in the U.S. So, you know, he was trying to do that. Making the second Olympics was a really big deal for him because he was in a bit of a difficult spot. So making the second Olympics was huge. And then obviously then he's gone to work for Deloitte.
Gold rush.
So, you know, that transition is pretty difficult to go from being a full-time professional table tennis player to them working full time. And I think over the last couple of years, he's kind of come back into his own of figuring out how table tennis fits into the mold of, you know, it's not something you can walk away from when you've played for as long as he has and been that passionate.
So I gotta ask, you know, it's a tale as old as time. Roommates staying up late, playing ping pong against each other, just having fun. Did you and Tim, as roommates, just play against each other for fun? You both love table tennis.
Not that often.
Those are high-level basement games.
Yeah, we didn't have a table in our apartment, but we played sometimes.
You had a dining room table, and you could, you know, mock one up pretty quick, I'm sure. Play with your couple of soup spoons or something like that.
Part of the challenge of being so passionately involved with table tennis is figuring out how to get things into your schedule that are not table tennis.
I understand.
So I think we spent more time figuring that out. Jeremy's fought back pretty well here in the second game. You can see him, I mean, Jeremy, the hand speed that he gets into the ball, playing early in the bounce, kind of similar as what we see from Damien Provost as well.
Seven, 4.
It's all a consistency battle when it comes to Jeremy.
4, 8.
Can you enlighten those of us who may not understand exactly how Olympic qualification works for American players that have aspirations, Canadian players that have aspirations? Do all countries do it the same, or is it different everywhere?
It's mostly continentally focused. It's become more difficult for USA and Canada now than it was before. Before it was a North American Olympic trial, so essentially there are one team spot and 3 single spots, maximum of 2 per country. So effectively, both countries were guaranteed at least 1 single spot. Now it's changed to Pan-American, so you have the whole of South America in the mix as well. You have Brazil, Argentina, Puerto Rico, of course. So yeah, the stakes have definitely upped this time around. So this Olympics is the first time that that's happening. But it's a long pathway. It really requires a lot of commitment.
Obviously, you and Sean were celebrating Lily Jong for securing her Olympic spot as we see Jeremy take a timeout at 8-7. We'll return to this conversation, but get your Mandarin ears out. Let's listen in.
不是，你发球啊，往那边角度发开一点，发过去那脚动起来。你现在发球全是站着在接，对不对？你长球也不敢发，这个球发长球往那中间发。
或者这个身体短的话要
长的往中间发，发完反拉他，啊，
长的往中间，
往中间发，别发反手位，往中间发。哎，他戳你的话，你别拖啊，在那加点质量，失误就失误啊。不是加，不要拖啊！下旋球不要拖，上旋球我说。哎，这个球发什么球知道吧？
Recognize any of the vocabulary we just heard, Matt?
I know, like, I would say the majority, but probably the first half was most focused on serve from, I don't know whether it was serve or serve receive. I think it was serve.
Gold rush.
One more serve for Hazien right here, trying to maintain his lead. Well done.
7,
Definitely
9.
a good setup. Maybe they were saying serve to the backhand. I mean, they know that Tim will open up softer on a lot of occasions. So Jeremy, he can't afford to block all the time. He has to go on the aggressive. Oh, Tim Wong, he had the opportunity to put the ball down the line.
That was well said by you, because Hazien was in control at that point when he took his swings, and then he had the one block. which allowed Wong to kind of take control of the point. He had it lined up and just missed the winner. Game points for Hazien to even up this match at a game apiece. And we are even
11-7.
between
Second
Tim
game,
and
gold
Jeremy.
rush.
Rubber game coming up.
A little bit of extra offensive there from the Canadian. Gets him over the line.
11-7 one way, 11-7 the other.
Sorry, you're going to ask me something as well.
We'll get back to it.
Lily's,
We'll get back to it.
As we go into this third game here in the second singles match, I just want to test the temperature of the crowd. Who here wants to see Jeremy Hazien from the Carolina Gold Rush in game number 3? Okay. And who here wants to see Timothy Wong from the Chicago Winds in game number 3? Make some noise. Singles 2, game number 3 is about to begin.
Jeremy Hazien and Timothy Wong each have won 18 points. These are the updated standings. Carolina, when they earn their 4th point of this team match, will clinch
Third
at
game,
worst a tie
Gold
for the
Rush to
last
serve,
playoff spot. It is
0-0.
all academic right now. We do have some new personnel in the Gold Rush bench area. They brought a mascot for the first time. A very
I can't figure out if I know who that is.
a very hairy figure.
1.
There's a part of
0.
me that thinks there's a familiarity in the face behind that that wild Gandalf-looking.
Hazien has taken the opening 2 points
0-2.
here in game 3. Yeah, I was asking before about, Lily obviously is qualified for U.S. Olympics. You guys were celebrating that, deservedly so. A few weeks ago out in Everett, Washington. On the men's side, when will the Pan American participants be known? I mean, the Olympics are
So the
coming up here.
difference, yeah, the difference between the women and the men is that the women won the Pan American Championships, which qualified the team.
Gotcha.
So, now it comes down to the U.S. trial where they decide which women
3,
will play on the team.
1.
First position
World
was
rank.
decided by the highest world ranked player, which, as of March the 1st, was Lily Zhang. Kind of announced it a little bit earlier, but so she's taken that first spot. Players like Amy Wong, Rachel Sung, that are also in MLTT, they'll play the trial, which is towards the 3rd week of
4,
March.
1.
On the men's
Timeout.
side, the top
Win.
2 players from the US trial will then play the Pan American, basically for singles.
Timeout Chicago. Let's listen in with Coach Eric Owens.
Timothy Wong and the Wind are down by 3 points here in this third game in this match.
Yeah, it's basically he's playing a little bit quicker earlier.
Yes.
With not a lot of spin. So I need to.
You got to be wondering what Tim
And every time,
and his team are saying
backhand to
right
his
now.
backhand, he
Always cross.
But this is a
so
huge match
you
for the
need to be
Wind.
ready once or twice.
Chicago Wind looking to stay in
anticipate a
contention.
little,
They're in
and
4th
if
place
you
in
catch
the
him,
Eastern
maybe he
Division.
will think twice,
And they're
take
trying to
more
battle
risk and
back
miss
against
more.
all
But
the
now he
odds.
feels he has
One
this,
game at a time.
this
Timothy
game plan
Wong
like this, it
looking
works
to
well for
represent
him, so he feels
the
comfortable.
USA
So you need to
once
change
again.
like this, like all you go
and
like
take game
deep,
number 3.
like far, cross court of the bounds.
Jeremy Hazien
You don't need to
looking
keep,
confident
but
coming
at
back.
least you need
Yeah,
to
you don't
change
need to
This is
overplay
time,
that one.
and we're
Whenever he
back
doesn't
here
be
in game
aggressive
number
on it,
3.
but you
Either
don't need to win the
anticipate,
point right away.
Either if you really you change really.
And make it a little bit difficult for him. So if he's giving you wide, make him do it from the middle. Right? Give him a bad position. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Come on.
Okay, you'll get it. Come on.
Let's go.
Come on, Timmy, come on.
So Tim Wong getting some advice from both Damian Provost and
1-1.
Coach
4-1.
Eric Owens,
Gold rush.
trying to encourage him to get the backhand a little bit earlier, put some more pressure and try and get it wide to Jeremy's forehand.
5.
He's saying he doesn't need to
1.
win the point off it. He just needs to remind Jeremy that he has that shot, and is prepared to make it.
Doubles is on deck.
1-5.
Hanen, Tan
Win.
versus Angles and Lin. Enzo and Wong have been heads and shoulders the top doubles duo in the league. It's felt like guaranteed free points for the Gold Rush.
2-5.
Understanding that, it makes this single game that much more important for Tim Wong.
Yeah. And that's the ball that they were trying to encourage Tim to play. Trying to coax Jeremy into the middle of the table to cut his angle options off a little bit with the backhand. There's the added pressure, but unforced error. Jeremy's been able to step up the offensive.
Hazien has turned this match around after dropping game 1. He's 3 points away from a 2-1 win.
We've
seen a couple rallies so far today, Matt, that, you know, from our perspective, we're watching the match, but we're also seeing the faces of the fans sitting in those VIP seats. And for some of these people, it's their first time seeing MLTT in person, and just kind of the oohs and ahs and the facial expressions you see on some of the lengthier rallies where the players really show their stuff. It's really a sight to see.
9-4.
I think the format of MLTT has really done well to lend itself to creating a more intensity.
4-10.
Right now, Jeremy Hazien has 7 game points. Wong saves the first.
10.
I think we've seen someone come back from 10-5 to win. I don't know if we've seen someone come back from 10-4 to win.
I've seen somebody come back from 10-0 to win.
Well, but not in MLTT you haven't.
Not yet.
11-5.
Not happening here today with Hazien and
1,
Wong. Impressive stuff from the Canadian. Jeremy puts Carolina in front 4-2 as Enzo and Jeremy get a couple points apiece for their teams to start off the weekend. And Carolina will send its top-ranked doubles team to the table next. Jeremy Hazien has put the headset on. Jeremy, thanks for joining us. Obviously, you and Tim have had some battles the past couple of months. He got you in January. You got him in February. He got you game 1 today, but what changed in games 2 and 3?
So I think it's all about the mental game, because at the moment I'm pretty confident in my level. But I think for some reason, I don't know why, but in the first set, I had a good start in the first 2 points, and then all of a sudden I just couldn't feel myself. Like the momentum just changed in his favor and I couldn't do anything about it. Second set, I tried to refocus. then the same thing happened. The momentum was in my favor, and he couldn't do much about it. I mean, he came back a little bit, but that's because I made some unforced errors. But I think in the third set, the final set, in the first half of the final set, I played really well. So once I played well and I got a 5-1 lead, for the first time in the last 3 matches we had, he started to get really nervous. So that gave me the chance to take the final set.
Matt was talking a little bit about how you've been training in Germany. How has that impacted your game over the past couple weeks?
So it's actually impacted my game a lot because it's the first time I actually trained full-time in 3 years. And this time it felt really good to do what I used to do, train full-time. It was 3 weeks of training. But of course, nothing compares to the real match. When the match starts, it's a totally different situation. It doesn't matter how much you train. It's totally different.
And what kind of things are important for you? I mean, I know one of the difficulties for you when you're coming up against players who are familiar with you is that they know your style of play. They know how you play. And they try and push you to be more passive. What does it take for you to get out there and to try and be more aggressive?
Well, the mentality I had today was if I don't take risks and give a little bit more pressure on him, then I lose. That's what I thought after the first set. So after the first set, I was more and more aggressive. So I think that also made a big difference.
Congrats on the win, Jeremy. Enjoy an hour off. We'll see you in the Golden Game.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
First game, win to
And
serve.
one other conversation we can
0-0.
have, Matt, as we get this doubles match started with Emily Tan serving to Hong Lin, Sasha Khanin hitting to Enzo Angles. And an edge for the win to get started. Angles pops back up. We'll see if it's going to be that type of day for the Gold Rush doubles team. I would doubt it, but you never know. The dynamic, Matt, of players in Major League Table Tennis, you know, we're at all different levels in September and in the tryout season relative to their peak performance. And because of the dynamic that you and Sean and I have talked about a lot, that, you know, it's hard for top Americans to be among the best in the world because they're not getting those high-level reps.
Yeah.
I mean, you can think about this just league-wide. Like, who are the players that you feel have risen their level the most from where they were in September to where they are now?
Across the entire league?
Yeah.
I think Sonora Silva is the player that absolutely stands
He wasn't even drafted. Now he's one of the top 5 players in the league.
Right.
2,
yeah.
3.
I mean, yeah, he's 3, I think.
The power rankings, yeah.
Yeah, played phenomenally last round in Everett, Washington. So he certainly is one player that absolutely stands out. I think Pinto, like, bit of a slow start out of the blocks, but fantastic throughout, I guess, like the middle 70% of the season, especially in singles. He'll be playing in the next singles match against Sebastian Dupont.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. What about a guy like Jinshin Wong? You know, he was a first-round pick, struggled a little bit early on, but you and I were talking earlier, the last couple opportunities, he's really played well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the overall scene of how things started out, you have a lot of players that are not competing as much. You know, they'll train building up to big events, but they're not consistently practicing. They're doing a lot of coaching now. Their focus is on the next generation of players that are coming after them. You know, Jinshin, prime example. Timothy Wong, prime example. You know, they're not competing as much as before. But I think the team coaches have done such a good job, and the team owners as well have done such a good job of accommodating practice. I mean, Princeton arrived here on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And they've
seen teams make a different commitment as the season goes along.
Yeah.
Recognizing how important it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a chance for those players to step into that commitment and to have 3 or 4 days of practice that, you know, even like Jeremy said, 3 years since he trained full time. So, you know, careers shift, and yes, players, they have great level. I think there were a lot of players in the beginning of the season that were kind of hibernating. And as the season's moved on, they've woken up a bit more.
Do you agree with Jeremy Hazien that no matter how much training you've done, the match feels totally different?
Yes. In the sense that you can practice hundreds of hours, and if you don't practice matches, then you won't get the results that you're hoping for.
Carolina Gold Rush have, by and large, been match ready ever since this season began, and with that miss from Emily Tan, the Gold Rush officially punched their ticket to the first ever Major League Table Tennis Championship weekend. That's 265 points for the season, and the Gold Rush are postseason bound. We'll see Carolina in the Windy City at the end of April. That is a guarantee.
As an impressive feat for a team that's had so much success through the season to come into the final weekend when the pressure's on and only have to win 5 points to guarantee your spot. Just goes to show what a great job Coach Alex Yang has done with the team. What a great job the players have done throughout the season.
And really, I mean, without this doubles team, it would be a very different deal. But Angles and Lin, I mean, to say they've been the best doubles team in the league, I don't think speaks to just how dominant they have been playing together. They're now 45-10. They've played doubles together in all but one match this season. Holman played singles in the very first match
against Damien.
Yeah. And then they paired Hong and Enzo together, and it has been a fantastic team.
1-0.
Certainly showed no signs of slowing down. I've asked you this before, but what in your mind has made the two of them so successful together?
There's a multitude of factors. One of them, obviously, having a stronger women's player in the doubles combination makes a big difference. Hong is really exceptional player. So she can kind of control the table even when the men are hitting to her. Perfect example right there. So she doesn't back away from the men playing with power. Fantastic example. Thank you, Hong, for perfect timing. But you just have opposite angles. Two forehands in the middle, one left-hander, one right-hander. You have a short pips pen holder that's able to change pace. She can hit the ball flat. Obviously sets up Enzo incredibly well. And they just have really great synergy together. There's not been a lot of situations where we've seen them struggling with footwork patterns or on strategies of setting each other up. And that's what doubles is all about. It's about a team that gels well together. You can take two really top players and put them together in doubles, and they might not necessarily win, because you need to adjust to that doubles mentality.
1-6.
We are closing in on crunch time for the win. Chicago coming into this weekend in 4th place, or mathematically alive, as I said, but I think if I've got my math correct, they could only afford to lose 9 or 10 points all weekend long. So if Chicago is going to make some dramatic late surge, it's really now or
early.
never.
They need to make a dramatic early surge.
It's truly now or never. Like we've seen Emily Tan have some really nice shots over the course of the season. She brings her personality to the table. I mean, when the team was introduced earlier tonight, everyone kind of had their game faces on. and Emily had her game face on too, but she was smiling as she walked out. I mean, she just brings her bubbly personality, her fierce, aggressive style to the table. But she's also just 17 years old, and there have been plenty of shots like that throughout the season too. Now she plays through them, she recovers quickly, but those are points, just free points that you're given to the best doubles team in the league.
Yeah.
This is another game that's basically one-way traffic.
10.
Yeah, I think this is somewhere where Chicago have struggled the most, is in these moments of a game, you know, when things really quiet down and, you know, the momentum seems to be slipping away. You kind of almost feel like out of all of the teams, maybe Florida has suffered it a little bit more in the recent matches as well, of just not quite having that fight back or having a really strong push back into each game. I mean, of course, very, very tough opposition.
11, 5, second game.
Service error ends game 2. Back-to-back wins by the same score. In fact, that's 3 straight games going back to the last singles match that have all been 11-5 in favor of the Gold Rush. They got a 6-2 lead overall midway through this final Chicago-Carolina match of season 1. As the evening has progressed, or perhaps the afternoon has progressed into the evening, more and more fans have made their way into the Bronx Zoo. We are in Alumni Gymnasium, home of the Rider University Bronx basketball program that competes in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. And this weekend it is MLTT Central, home of the Princeton Revolution. Revolution and Crocs separated by just 3 points in the standings. Their final regular season collision less than 2 hours away. Meanwhile, the Carolina doubles team looking to complete another impressive sweep. They've done this one with ruthless efficiency and also a good bit of style. And they've had moments where each of their players, Angles and Lin, have shined over the course of the first couple games and here early in game 3.
Just smooth as ever. Sasha and Emily are hitting some really great shots out there. The shot quality is definitely there, but they just haven't been able to put enough pressure on Wong or Enzo. Just clips the edge of the table.
Think about it. It's 2 of the 11 points that Chicago has won in this match have been edge balls.
4-2.
I'll ask you this again later, but real quick, just curious, who are you leaning towards this weekend, Princeton or Florida, to get the better of one another tonight and for the weekend overall? Who are you leaning toward? What does your gut say?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
It's your job.
I might lose some severe favor with if I'm a diplomat. I think if you step back and you look at the momentum trends, Princeton are on the up, Florida kind of a little bit on the down. So I think if you look at that trend, certainly Princeton has the upper hand.
But what does your gut tell you, Matt?
My gut tells me, just based off the last round, that the Revolution, if they're playing their strongest team, which they are, they have what it takes to get through. I think Florida will have to do something much more special than they've done in the previous few rounds to come out on top, which they're capable of.
7-3.
But they have to buck the trend. There's a bit of pressure on their back.
Yeah, the roadmap for Florida feels like they need Gorak and Ekholm to be lights out playing doubles together.
8-3.
And they need their CD players, their 3 players that will be playing in the second single spot and third single spots to be competitive.
9.
Because Princeton's CD players, those 3, it's DeSantillan, Koyo, and Pershepa.
Yes.
Those 3, I mean,
they're solid. I mean, they can perform in the AB.
Absolutely.
And, you know, getting Koyo as your 8th round draft pick is
10-4.
unreal.
Yep. That'll do it.
Hong Lin and Enzo Angles deliver another sweep to cap their regular season of doubles against Chicago. More of the same for the Carolina Gold Rush. Enzo earns 5 of the possible 6 points, and we're just 3 matches into the weekend. 11-5, 11-5, and 11-4. Moments ago, the Carolina Gold Rush officially clinched their playoff spot. And we're joined by the coach of Carolina, Alex Yang. Alex, I don't know if you did the math or realized it, but you are officially now, no matter what happens the rest of the way, taking your team to championship weekend. Congratulations on a tremendous season so far. What are you most proud about of the way your team has represented all season long?
Because of they put together, so looks like a family. Why we came earlier to lock the spot. It's also we have a goal, try to get better results later.
Well, your doubles team has been the differentiator. I mean, your singles players have had the second greatest success in the league, but your doubles team has been a clear #1. When you drafted Enzo and Hong with your first 2 picks, did you envision them being together as the top doubles team in the league?
No, not. Just pick up Ling Hong because she can be the top woman in the East. And after they play first double, second match, then I can feel they will be the #1 double in East.
What did you see when you saw them play together for the first time?
First time in North Carolina, Daytona Beach.
I think it was Daytona Beach, the first weekend of the season.
Yeah.
But in practice, I mean, what did you see when you saw them play together that led you to believe they'd be so successful?
I think the style. So Hong Ling, short pips, you know, and make other opponents not comfortable. And Enzo has good counter loop and control balls. So it's the best combination for me.
Now, just really quickly before the next match starts, obviously as coaches, you're trying to put as much work into the team as you can, and a lot of the coaches have been putting in effort off the table as well and outside of MLTT. Did I see correctly that you were also in Germany with Jeremy?
Oh yeah, yes. Jeremy was there 3 weeks. He tried to prepare for the Olympic trials. But the last week, I supposed to go there to see how he did there. You know, it's very important to support him.
All right,
fantastic.
Congrats on everything so far. Best of luck the rest of the weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank
you, Alex. Certainly not popping champagne corks at the moment. He's focused on the business at hand.
1-0.
As he said, they have a goal. They are still working to achieve it. They have not officially clinched first place yet. They
probably do that later tonight. Their
0,
magic
2.
number, if you can call it that, was 17 points. So they need 10 more points over the next 54 that are available. It's you can write it in ink. This is an interesting match, though. Daniele Pinto for Chicago. He's had a really solid season. Bastian Dupont for Carolina has been pretty steady as well. Doesn't have the same record in singles as Pinto does. He's had some moments. And believe it or not,
3, 2.
in the 6th match of the season between Carolina and Chicago, this is the first time that Daniele and Bastian have been paired against each other for a singles match. So we're seeing something we haven't seen before. And Bastian Dupont is off to a good start.
Win.
Yeah, one of the big challenges when playing against Pinto is kind of playing a game of find the backhand. I mean, he plays so much forehand, has amazing coverage of the table, but tends to be significantly softer on the backhand if you can find it.
2,
So
5.
Dupont will certainly be looking at building his tactics around that. You can see even there, I mean, Dupont plays fast cross-court into the backhand corner.
That was a big,
Pinto's on his forehand.
Big fortunate net ball that helped out Pinto. Bastian took a big swing at that initial return and would have been a 6-2 lead with the serve coming back his way. But Daniele a little bit off early here.
3.
Bastian Dupont has been sharp. This is Bastian's first MLTT action as a 24-year-old. He celebrated his birthday near the end of February. Usually his birthday is the second to last day of the month, but this year it was the third to last day of the month. Did you do anything special for your leap day, man?
3, 7.
Any leap day ceremonies, celebrations?
Went to work, I think.
Do you have any
4,
big
7.
celebrations planned for St. Patrick's Day on Sunday?
No. Full of entertainment, me.
5, 7.
Just no reason to celebrate. Maybe I'll rewatch some MLTT.
Well, you'll be here broadcasting MLTT.
Oh, it's this Sunday.
It is.
Oh. Oh, then you don't want me celebrating too early, do you? I got to get through the matches first. What about you, Evan? Are you going to show up wearing a green top hat?
You know, the analyst
7,
is often
6.
referred to as the color commentator, so I count on you to bring the color.
I'll bring the color if you bring the play.
The what?
The play.
Pinto has rallied back here.
You can see Pinto's trying to do a lot with the serve
6,
return, just
8.
trying not to be too linear. You know, a lot of kind of fade forehand pushes. Just trying to get the ball to curve a little bit. Bastian Dupont.
Beautiful angle.
6, 9.
Catches Pinto out of position on the step around.
So it's playing the game of find the backhand unless he leaves that forehand side so wide open you can't help yourself. That's a great job by Dupont getting Pinto moving, had him off balance, and he had the finishing touch as well. Let's see if he can finish off this opening game.
I mean, it only takes a couple of points just to put a little bit of doubt in Pinto's mind. If he steps around and he's slightly out of position, it takes some confidence away from him.
8, 10.
Service error, it's 10-7. Pinto now with a couple of serves here. Dupont going to the table, thinking about that miss. See what he can dial up on the return.
10-9.
9-10.
Just from watching Daniele all season long, if he can dig out of this one and win it, I could sense a sweep coming his way.
And fought his way back to tie it at 10s.
Great decision from him. He stepped around and kind of wound up. Could have played a more powerful shot, but just goes for that awkward lefty spin.
First golden point of the weekend. Daniele Pinto comes back to take it for Chicago. Five straight for Pinto to take game one. Tremendous rally from the 25-year-old Italian Daniele Pinto. Matt, what stood out to you by that most about that comeback?
I think just grit. I mean, it doesn't matter how much you pressure that backhand corner. He keeps playing forehand. And I feel like a lot of players would kind of shy away from it. Maybe they'd resort to playing more backhand. And he doesn't. He always looks for his forehand. He knows how much of a strength it is. And it's a huge risk to leave that much of the table open. But he just keeps going for it. Step around forehand for him is bread and butter.
7 straight points for Pinto.
Finally snaps the streak.
Interesting to see Dupont going down the middle of the table this time. Pinto, he was already stepping around. This time Dupont plays out to the forehand corner. This is important also, is that Dupont doesn't continuously play to the same spots. If he always plays into the backhand corner, Pinto can prepare for it early. Now we're seeing Dupont really shift up the placement. If Pinto knows that he could have to receive a ball wide on the forehand corner or wide on the backhand corner and everywhere in between, it makes it much harder for him to move early in the rally.
3-3.
3-all here in game 2.
Daniele has been a part of every single MLTT weekend for Chicago this season. Very steady contributor.
4-3.
He's had an above 500 singles record in 4 of the previous 6 weekends, including a weekend in which he went 6-0 and another he went 5-1, and the interdivisional weekend he went 7-2. And that's the type of shot that has made him successful even when he's not using his favored forehand. He's got that little flick, Provost style. Nice placement there from Dupont. Little shorty to the corner. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Pinto getting set up for the cross court. So he went down the line. Masterfully done.
Goes for it again. I mean, also, Dupont's got to understand that Pinto is playing long kick serves significantly more than any other player in the league. The amount of long service that Pinto is using in a match is probably 70 to 80% half long or long. So how Dupont prepares for the serve receive is very important when you're playing against someone who's looking to follow up forehand.
Ooh.
5, 7.
A couple of shots in a row that did not clear the net by much. Those were low missiles. Firing back and forth.
You can see this time Pinto, he moves the serve to
6,
the corner.
7.
Makes it really, really hard to pick up a half-long ball when your racket's heading towards the corner of the table. Pinto, he brings it back again here.
Gold rush.
Bit of frustration there from Dupont. Second time in the match that he's had a bit of a lead.
Oh my. Oh my.
7,
Daniele
8.
can't help but grin at how he won that point. Good Dupont scurry around the table. Tried to take a, turned out to be an impossible angle. Daniele Pinto
7.
has been the comeback kid so far today. He was down 5 points in game 1, down by as many as 3 here in game 2. Not making it easy for himself at all times.
8,
Dupont
9.
back within 1, catching an edge there. Pinto still very much in control, particularly if he can win this point right here on his serve. I feel like the winner of this point just might win this game. And it's Pinto taking the 10-8 lead.
10.
You can see from the side angle the serve was a bit shorter, and then he followed up with a backhand. So throwing in some almost unknowns at the crucial points of the match.
Game points for Daniele. Dupont stays alive.
10.
Trying to return the favor after Bastian had 5 game points last time and was 0 for 5.
Dupont from the step around
10.
got a lot of power on that ball. He was a little bit out of position. Another golden point here.
Yeah. It's a shame that these two guys haven't played more often this season. Their first meeting of the year, back-to-back games at 10-all. Daniele Pinto does it again. He does just enough to outlast Carolina's Bastian Dupont, and Daniele has guaranteed himself at worst 2 out of 3. He will go for the sweep momentarily.
And if you're from New Jersey, I know you know a lot of Italians, but this man is actually probably born and raised in Italy. He's coming over here to just hang out with us and play for you right here at Rutgers College. If you're just joining us here, this is the 12 Major League Table Tennis, right here, game number 1 in the Eastern Division. The Carolina Core is going up against the Chicago Winds. Sasha Khanin is going up against them.
All season long, Daniele Pinto has been one of the bright spots for the Chicago Wind, with
2 singles games in the bag today. He's now 27-14 on the season. He has had a really solid year, especially after a slow start. When he went 1-5 the first weekend. He talked about how that wasn't up to his standard. You know, since then, he's 26-9. Think about that.
That's a solid record. I mean, you have to imagine that record has played a phenomenal role in Chicago wind. I mean, for the majority of the season, even leading up, I think leading all the way up to the cross division, Chicago wind were the only team to have a positive singles record. They were still at the bottom of the table because of the Golden Game, but their singles record was the best.
2-1.
Pinto catches Dupont out wide.
Eric Owens looking on.
Provost looking pretty entertained after that one. There's the backhand. I mean, Dupont, he's been in these games. They've literally been decided by 1 point. He's had some great runs of points.
Yeah.
He's had some leads.
Where has he fallen short? Other than the obvious, well, on Golden Point, you idiot.
You kind of threw me off with that now. Yeah, I mean, obviously with Golden Point, but I think his changes in placement have worked really well, but he hasn't stuck to them anymore. I mean, we saw perfectly in the Golden Point at the end of the last game. He came in and he tried to play heavy backspin on the ball, but he cut it straight back into that backhand corner. And that's you know, a left-hander who plays a lot of forehand. When push comes to shove, they know that people are going to pressure their backhand corner. And Pinto's ready for it. He's always ready to step around. So I think that's one of the bigger problems.
Wait.
Final singles match coming up after this between Sasha Khanin and Romain Lawrence.
Yeah, whereas we have only seen Pinto and Dupont here in the singles match all season, Hanen and Lawrence have played a bunch. Played 3 of the previous 5 East Division weekends. This will be their 4th time they've played a singles match. And all the matches have been 2 out of 3. Hasn't been a sweep yet.
5,
so it's close and competitive. Romain has a 5-4 edge in games, but Sasha was victorious most recently, so we'll see.
There's the backhand.
7-5.
Sometimes that's literally all it takes. Bastien Dupont, he finds one backhand shot from Pinto, and it's going to be enough. Control off the forehand side, redirect the ball. I mean, a lot of players, they play backhand to backhand and try and switch to the forehand. With Pinto, it's about switching from the forehand back to the backhand.
7-6.
Can Dupont convert this lead?
Seven.
Bit of deja vu as Dupont's lead comes back to 7 points each.
All 3 games he's had a decent lead midway through into the latter stages.
8.
It's been a similar story. Speaks to Daniele's success throughout the season.
Wait.
Good hustle from the MLTT ball kid here. And Pinto just sends the ball down the line. Looks like it clipped the top edge a little bit there.
Pinto talking to himself, wants to avoid any letdown here.
Overhits the counter.
8-9.
Frustrated with himself. It feels like he should be up 10-7. Instead, Dupont has the serve at 9-8.
Left.
Nine all.
9-9.
What do you think, Matt? Are we going to get our third straight golden point?
I think so.
You've seen it a handful of times throughout the season, but it's certainly not common. Seeing golden points in just under 15% of all games this year. So to see it 3 games in a row is not all that common of occurrence, but Dupont turning this around on Pinto here. It's 3 straight for Bastion to set up a game point. Now he had 5 game points in game number 1 and 1 game point in game number 2. Hasn't won one of them yet, and he hasn't won this one. And this is really fascinating because Dupont is about to experience his 8th game point of this match. So far, Daniele has won all 7.
10.
Another golden point. Who's going to take it?
Oh, it was a wicked return from Pinto, but Dupont somehow survived it, and then Pinto can't help but chuckle a little bit. Entertaining battle between these 2 Europeans. Pinto takes 2 out of 3, but Dupont able to escape with a huge sigh of relief, and he dodges the sweep. What a fun and quirky battle that was.
Players.
Daniele Pinto has put the headset on and joins us now. Daniele, thanks for joining us. Congrats on sneaking 2 out of 3. What a wild and crazy match that was. First of all, it's the first time all season in a singles match that you've played against Bastion. How familiar were you with his game going into that match? Obviously, you've seen him play a lot, but standing across the table from him has to be a different feeling.
Yeah, I knew he plays kind of game similar to mine, so he likes to step around, play forehand. So I just tried to play what I don't like. And actually I was very nervous before the match because I didn't play for 1 month official competition, and I used to play a lot during the season, so yeah, I was nervous. I'm happy that I could win this tough game.
And obviously all 3 games he had a lead, especially the first. What were the kind of tipping points? What helped him get into the lead, and what helped you fight back when you were trailing to win, especially the first 2 by golden point, and then you had the chance again in the third as well?
You know, at the beginning of the first 2 sets, I was serving long a lot, and he was receiving good. So yeah, I just tried to serve more short and be more aggressive to win the points.
And one of the things I noticed also was that he was kind of picking the ball up and hitting down the line or hitting to the middle a lot when you were stepping around. Obviously, you like to move a little bit early. Can you talk me through that second to last point where you kind of almost faked like you were going to step around?
Yeah, this is a move that I used to do to, you know,
the pump
to
fake
make
step around
to the opponents. Yeah, but yeah, it was ready sometimes, and it catch me on the forehand side. So yeah.
Daniele, only a handful of players have won more singles games than you have this year. What are you most proud about of what you've been able to do in MLTT?
You know, I'm just happy that I could play as many games as I can and try to be. Keep talking? Okay. No, I'm just happy that I could play many games here in US, and happy that I will play also next season. So yeah, just hope that I can continue to play like that.
What do you expect next season to be in terms of how it'll feel different than this year?
I for sure will be stronger. I knew that many players will come, stronger players, so this is very interesting. I like if the level will increase, so I'm ready. I will be ready for the next season, yeah.
Congratulations, the Yannick Sinner of MLTT, Daniele Pinto. Congrats, Daniele.
I wish so,
We'll see you in the Golden Game. Thank you. Into our final singles match before the Golden Game, Sasha Khanin versus Romain Lawrence. Khanin off to a hot start, taking the opening 3 points. That last point from Bastion Dupont did clinch the lead going into the Golden Game for Carolina. So it's up to Romain to increase that lead. Sasha trying to narrow the gap.
3-2.
I mentioned earlier, these two no strangers. They went head-to-head in the very first ever MLTT singles match. It was September 15th, 2023.
2-4.
6 months ago. Half a year has gone by since Romain took 2 out of 3 from Sasha.
Predates my time in the
Daytona Beach.
In the chair.
In the commentary chair, but you were active in the chat, I think.
I was very active in the chat, yeah.
And before you and I ever met in person, we had been on a couple calls together. What a point this is. My goodness. Hanen takes it. The fans appreciating the brilliance from both sides of the table. But I was going to say that before I got to know you in person, I knew your online persona nice. as a commenter. You were very enthusiastic about what you were seeing.
Has anything changed between what you felt
from
the keyboard and from now in person, apart from me being dismissive?
Well, your charming sarcasm didn't necessarily come across on YouTube in the chat the way it does in real life.
Thank you. That's just the kind of compliment that I live for. Lawrence fighting back here in the first game.
These two guys have had a lot of battles. Mentioned how they played in September. They played again in October.
5-5.
In November, that was the Chicago-Carolina match when Hanen actually got the better of Enzo Angles, handing Enzo one of his 3 losses of the season.
That one I remember.
It's easy to spend a lot of time talking about Enzo and Hong Lin and the job Kai Zhang has done as well, but Romain has been something of an unsung hero for Carolina too. I mean, he was a 5th round draft pick, and he's played in the AB spot all season long. He's 27-30, 27 wins and 30 losses in the 57 singles games he's played, going often against the other team's best player.
Yeah, I mean, his ability to show up and to clutch points consistently. That's been the most important factor. It's been consistent every round. We've seen players step into the B position and have lots of ups and downs. I mean, Marc Duran is probably the best example, where we've seen him just go for broke and get wins against the A's and the B's from other teams. Maybe in the last couple of rounds hasn't quite been there. But Romain Lawrence, I feel like he's delivered every time that it's been asked of him. Sasha Khanin is well in control in that point. Lawrence, he's kind of similar to Pinto. He wants to play a lot of forehand. So tactically, there's a lot of things that Sasha's going to have at his disposal to try and weaken that playing style.
One more point on Lawrence. He enters this weekend 26th in the MLTT power rankings. Kai Zhang is number 6. If those two players traded schedules of opponents,
it could very easily be the other way around.
Yep.
9-7.
Tough strength of schedule.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, he's done a good enough job, and of course he's also very active on the tournament scene in the East Coast, so he's kept his rating level to be able to stay in the AB position, and to do that gives your team the ability to put someone like Kai in the C spot. That's a huge advantage for your team.
That's an excellent point. You're talking about what are the characteristics that has made the Gold Rush successful. Obviously, Enzo and Hong, singles and doubles, but it's the depth, it's the consistency, it's the team camaraderie, the family dynamic that Alex Yang talked about, and the steadiness that we've seen from Carolina all season long. They really haven't had a bad weekend.
9-9.
Lawrence battling back here against Sasha Khanin. Seen a lot of games go down to the wire between these two. Here's another one. First game they ever played, game 1 of the MLTT journey. Back in September, 6 months ago today, Roman won 11-9.
9-9.
He's got it on his paddle right here.
He won 11-9 the second time as well.
Yep.
First game.
And missed that one.
So had it on his paddle again.
Won't be 11-9 as Hanen takes the 10-9 lead. Might be 11-9 for Sasha. Last month, Roman took the first game 11-10 before Sasha responded to games 2 and 3. And game 1 to Sasha Khanin.
First game wins.
Dug deep for it when it counted the most.
So on the team tally, it's 8-5. 2 more games to 11. And then our first golden game of the weekend here in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. Emily Tan enjoying herself. See if Sasha can continue the momentum. He has won the last 3 games he has played against Roman Lawrence now. After Roman won 5 of the first 7 this season. So is this just 2 pretty equal players balancing out, or has Sasha figured something out? Good start to game 2 for Roman.
1-0.
So I did figure out, I know who the player is in the Gandalf Cowboy Gold Rush outfit. And he's actually one of Ramon's students. He's also a ping pod coach. So there he is, Jean-Augustin.
When you think about a Gold Rush, I don't even know where to go with that.
But
he's been a huge supporter of MLTT, specifically when Roman's playing. And actually, he posted on his birthday, they had a watch party for MLTT on his birthday. So it's pretty funny. I knew it. As soon as I looked down there, I was like, oh, he looks so familiar. Just something about the face behind the beard that I feel like I knew who it is. So he's now moved up the sideline, and you can hear him being pretty vocal for Roman.
So you're saying that
it's a costume, and then that's not his real beard and real hair.
Would that disappoint you if I said that was the case?
A little bit.
He doesn't pan for gold for a living either. That's going to ruin your day.
Hanen perseveres, absorbs a bunch of powerful forehands, and then finally outlasts Lawrence to take a 4-2 lead here in game 2.
The interesting difference here between this match and the last one is we saw Dupont against Pinto moving the ball all around to try and, force Pinto to play forehand across the whole table. Hanen seems pretty content just pinning Lawrence in the corner. Lawrence keeps playing cross court, and he looks pretty in control of these rallies. Lawrence is going to have to take some risk. He's going to have to take the timing a little earlier or hit the ball down the line, but this cross court step around forehand to backhand, generally not a position you want to be in too much.
Three, 5.
No matter what happens for the next game and a half, Carolina's going to have a lead going into the Golden Game. If you think back to January when Chicago came from behind to beat Carolina in the Golden Game, one of the big keys was the cross-gender matchup.
7,
Dan Liu against Hong Lin.
Yeah, I think Eric Owens actually kind of set a trend there. We typically had seen on almost every occasion the female players going head-to-head in the Golden Game. And, I mean, Eric, he spoke about this, the need to change something in the Golden Game. And recognizing that Hong had been just an absolute foundation for the Carolinas in the Golden Game, playing against the other women's players. Very bold decision by him to try and shake things up. And Emily Tan actually really outperformed herself, I think,
4, 8.
in the other side of that mixed gender matchup to make it really worthwhile for the team.
Going back to the Seattle event that I was watching from afar and enjoying Yurin Shan's inquisitive expertise, the decision that Christian Lilierose made in one of his matches to, in the Golden Game, choose Rachel Sung in the 2 spot
against Alexi Duan, against the Bay Area Blast.
No, it was against Seattle, because I think Luba responded by putting Diaz in the 2 spot, but Rachel had such an advantage in singles. I think she won 7 of the 8 points, and in the 2 spot, she's guaranteed to play those 8 points, where if they were in the 4 or the 5 spot, so it's like you're expecting Collet to be in that 2 spot, and he's like, no, I'm going to put the pressure on Seattle here.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, Rachel Sung, they put her in the, they matched her up with Alexi Duan in against the Bay Area Blasters, and she won the majority of the points. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to put the women's players in the singles position, obviously. I mean, Lily Zhang had some great performances, but in the Golden Game, totally different outlook.
Time out here.
Take your time, take your time.
I have minus confidence.
You're playing good, you are dominating.
I don't believe that I'm dominating.
7 to 8.
You are, though, but you are.
And we see from outside, you don't believe you are dominating because
this is the last singles match before the Golden Game, which can be a huge swing in an MLT2 match. By the way, I have game balls. Does anyone who wants a game ball?
Change it.
It's more like you were limited, like
What team do you want to
like
win?
the last few shots, the last 3 shots. Like the first one is good, but you stopped a little.
Chicago
If you
wins?
just
Okay, that
make
works.
sure you're ready because it's solid on this one.
To me, in the beginning of the matches, you were
Anyone else? I
like,
got
you were
one more
going,
game ball.
and in the last couple, you're like acting like a little surprised.
Like,
Scream out your team.
very small difference when you reset after the
Chicago,
first one,
another
and
Chicago
you not,
win
and you're a
fan.
little bit stop and watch
Terrible
because you're
throw
not
on my
confident.
part, but a great
It's huge
almost
because
catch on
this
the
one
move.
is that's where it's good.
Even if you're not confident, go. It's going to be better than being going up.
It's okay.
Come on, come on.
Come on, Sasha.
That was interesting. You had the coaching brain trust telling Sasha that he's dominating. Sasha saying, I don't feel like I'm dominating. And looking at the scoreboard, Matt, I don't feel like he's dominating either. What do you think?
I think tactically he's put himself in a good position a lot of the time, but it's tough to feel like you're dominating against Roman because he has so much grit. You can never really rule him out, and I mean, Damien raised a really good point. What you see from outside the table is always going to be different from what you see inside the table, which is why you have people on your bench. Because they often observe things that you're not able to see from being in first person, I guess. But Sasha, he's played fast into that backhand corner on a number of occasions. Roman he had another opportunity there. Took a big risk to take the timing early. He needs to make risks like that, but can't afford the errors at the same time.
Sasha Khanin 1 point away from 2-0 lead here in the singles match.
Roman drops the ball on the net.
10-9.
Worked out okay for the gold rush there.
Khanin still in a pretty good spot though. Another game point for Chicago.
Yeah, perfect setup there from
11-9. Second game. Green.
Chicago wins. Sasha Khanin takes the second game 11-9. Got just the soft forehand opening that he was looking for over the edge of the table. And a great counter. 2 games to 0. Gap closing a little bit here. 6-8 now. Chicago wins with an opportunity if he can take a 3-0 sweep to minimize that golden game head start for the Carolina Gold Rush.
Well, it's funny, through the first 3 team matches, that's 9 games. We only saw 1 game decided by 3 points or less. And now 5 straight games have been either 11-10 or 11-9.
Yep, things are certainly getting close here.
Well, Sasha has done his job already by getting 2. If he could complete the sweep, it would be significant.
Third game. Win to serve. 0-0.
Bringing Chicago within 1 and creating just a 1-point lead at the start of the golden game.
1-0.
He picks up where he left off. He has been sizzling here.
Dominating.
One all.
We're less than an hour away from the start of the Princeton, Florida match. Players from both those teams are starting to get loose. Seen them trickle into the arena over the course of the evening so far.
The occasional peek through the curtains from Matthias Harbison, I noticed. Hoyo.
Saw Desant Delan, Frank Arias, the coach of the Crocs, standing
over there. He's got one eye on his players warming up and one eye on the action here.
Oh, what a point from Romain Laurence. Both players backed off the table.
This is just the type of point that can make you fall in love with this game. Riveting stuff.
It's been interesting to
4-2.
kind of
Gold
watch Hanen's body language throughout this match. And it kind of goes back to that timeout or that end of him not really feeling like he was in control of the match completely. He certainly played well enough to get himself this 2-0 lead, but
Lawrence was retreating there, and Hanen did not help him out.
Emily Tan on the bench, as always, just pouring as much energy into the team as possible.
5-2.
That list
Gold
is
rush
shortened down.
Yeah. A few weeks away from going to Kansas for the final West Division weekend. The West Division race very much up in the air.
2-6.
Unlike the East, there's clearly no consensus as to who's going to be number 1 or number 2. All 4 teams still very much alive. Championship will be just a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday, April 27th and 28th in Chicago. Carolina will be there. They officially clinched their spot.
3-6.
Even if they lost every single game the rest of this weekend, Carolina has done enough through the season to make it to the Final Four. I think Carolina will win quite a few more games the rest of the weekend, though. Oh, Hanen somehow figured out a way to take that point. And it looked like Lawrence was in control.
Hanen's doing a really good job of cutting the ball over that forehand edge. Romain, he can't take the ball early. It's so close to the edge of the table, he has to let the ball drop.
Six, 5. Timeout, Gold Rush.
Timeout from Carolina Gold Rush.
Let's go, let's go.
6-5.
Try to do the backhand. Like no spin. Or just straight, no do side spin. Side spin, you do this. And when he serves, it's good. Give this, middle. Then you can then you need to open. Right? Open the first going to his middle.
Anything stand out to you about that conversation?
Yeah, I guess the serve. Actually encouraging him to serve even no spin, but not to add side spin.
6-5, Gold Rush.
Keep it plain, look for the first opening, go to the body. They're pretty textbook strategies.
6.
He's well set up. He
6.
got the ball that he wanted, but we've seen on a couple of occasions, especially during this game, where Romain's just kind of not quite hit the sweet spot on his racket. It's been more towards the edges and
6, 7.
Oh, there was a chance there for
7,
Lawrence.
7.
He'd gotten to the ball a little earlier.
Seven.
There have been 6 games in this match that have been close. The team match. Chicago has won almost all the close games. In a lot of ways, it feels like Carolina's dominated more than the 8-6 score, and that's because they've dominated a bunch of games or they've lost close games. Bastion's 1 golden point win, but Damien beat Enzo at 9-all, 11-9. And LA had a couple of golden point wins. Sasha's back-to-back 11-9s.
Wow. Snap counter from Hanen.
8.
Tough. 8-all.
Let.
If Roman can pull this game out, it'll be 3 times in 4 opportunities today that a player down 0-2 salvages game 3. Damien did it against Enzo. Bastion did it against Daniele.
Oh, you kidding me?
No.
Sasha cannot help but grin after that.
Roman almost kind of danced that one off.
That's ridiculous. Better to be lucky than good sometimes.
9. Gold rush to serve.
I love the reaction from Roman. 9-9. Hanen's proven his ability to close out here twice already.
A little bit tougher though when you're going for the sweep.
9.
Roman got to 9 in the first 2 games, did not get to 10 until just now. Game point, Lawrence.
And that'll do it. So it'll be a 9-6 lead for Carolina as we head into the Golden Game. And look, 4 battles this year between Roman and Sasha. They played 12 total games. Hanen won 6, Lawrence won 6.
It's a fair split. 2 fantastic serves from Lawrence to close out. Great to see both players. Big smiles at the end of that match.
And now it's time for the Golden Game, and we'll see what kind of rematches we get or what kind of new matchups are created. That was very early. Enzo catching an edge against Damien. Enzo got off to a hot start. Damien was able to salvage game 3. And it's been a match of ups and downs for both sides. Timothy Wong got off to a great start, but Hazien had the last laugh in second singles. Obviously, Carolina continues to be a doubles buzzsaw. Things got really tight, though. Look at the scores in third and fourth singles.
Crazy.
Not a game decided by more than 2.
Yeah, I mean, Pinto, he was behind. Dupont had so many opportunities to close out, but Pinto just stuck to his guns. And then, of course, leading into this last match that we just seen, Sasha Khanin, got off to a really great start, but Roman, two amazing serves. The reverse pendulum serves he used to close out, to win outright off your serve twice, to clutch to last game. Very impressive.
Let's figure out what the Golden Game order is going to be with the commissioner of MLTT, Flint Lane.
The mastermind behind Major League Table Tennis, Flint Lane.
Okay, I've been called lots of things, not the mastermind. Thank you for that. Okay, we're at the Golden Game. The current score is Carolina Gold Rush is leading 9-6. Therefore, you'll be starting with a 3-point advantage in the Golden Game. The Golden Game is played to 21. Players will rotate on every 4th point. Chicago, since you're behind, you will pick your first player who will play 1 point. Timothy Wong is your number 1. Coach?
Hong Lin.
Hong Lin is your number 1. Your number 2.
Dupont.
Bastian Dupont is your number 2. Coach?
Emily Tan.
Emily Tan is your 2 and your 3.
Sasha Khanin.
Sasha Khanin is your 3. Coach?
Enzo.
Enzo Angles is your 3 and your 4.
Romain.
Romain Lawrence is your 4.
Daniele Pinto.
Daniele Pinto is your 4, making Damien your 5, making Jeremy Hazien your 5. Good luck, coaches.
Thank you very much, Flint.
Certainly a different look than perhaps you might have been expecting, Matt. What do you think?
Yeah, certainly different from the singles lineup. I mean, fairly typical to how the Golden Game strategies have changed. Hong Lin against Timothy, very interesting choice from the Gold Rush. Could definitely work for them. Emily Tan against Dupont. Again, Eric Owens just looking for those matchups that can potentially shake up a difference in the Golden Game.
Chicago.
So it's a 3-0 lead for Carolina. 6 points on the line right here. Wong and Lin to play 1 point. And Lin takes it. Sebastian Dupont and Emily Tan come to the table now.
4-0. Gold Rush.
Oh, big counter from Dupont. Emily Tan had the control of the table. Dupont with a defiant look on his face there. Emily Tan, she gets the first point for the Chicago win here in the Golden Game.
And I'm quite certain that Chicago's not worried about this right now, but if they do not win this Golden Game, they will officially be mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. Emily Tan earns a split, earning 2 of the 4 points against Bastian Dupont. And here comes Enzo Angles and Sasha Khanin. Gold Rush up by 4, 6-2. Playing at 21.
First point for Enzo. Feels like it's been a while since we've seen him out on the table, even though he was here in the singles and doubles.
It's true. Last 2 matches were, constant 11-10, 11-9s. Oh, beautiful angle from Sasha Khanin. The serve shifts over to Angles. Enzo has been a splendid Golden Game player all season long. It's one of the reasons why he's the top-ranked player in the league.
the
splits
split.
the 4-point sequence there. Pop quiz, who's the only player in the entire league to win a higher percentage of Golden Game points than Enzo?
Oh, I feel like I know this. Somebody has like an 8, is it an 80%? No, it's lower than 80%.
62% is the best.
It's not Cole, right?
No.
No, it's...
oh, Lawrence makes it 9-4.
Is it... Is it Hong?
It is not. It's a guy that was not drafted.
Oh, it is Sonora. Okay.
It is Sonora Silva. Lawrence, 2 straight against Pinto to stretch the Gold Rush lead to 6. And how about that? 64 players were drafted in Major League Table Tennis. And the player that has the highest winning percentage in Golden Games was not among those 64 players.
Okay, and let's talk about his singles record as well. That's building to be one of the most impressive in the league as well.
Got the 3rd best winning percentage in singles, only behind Enzo and Kolak. Pinto takes care of business on his serve, so it's the 3rd straight 2-2 split. And look, maybe this is where the win can make some headway. Provost, 2nd best Golden Game win percentage in the East. And Hazien strikes first. I am, of course, considering Silva as a member of the West Division, even though he was a member of the East Division for a time. First player in MLTT history to play for both divisions.
So interesting how these matchups are kind of mirroring each other. We have Jeremy Hazien and Damien Provost, who are like a little bit slower pace, more controlling over the table. We just had Roman and Pinto, who are both forehand full table players.
Big forehand down the line there. Provost has a chance on his serve to take 3 out of 4 and bring Chicago back within 2. Chicago's made a move.
Yeah, I think Provost's ability to play wider angles is a big factor here. Jeremy plays so well within the table confines, but Damien's always looking to get that ball out wider.
4 points here for Lin and Wong. Hong Lin looks like she's in control. You knew that the Gold Rush mascot would bring the energy in the Golden Game.
Softer opening from Hong Lin. Some opportunity there for Tim Wong with the counter, but
these are massive points for Wong, and sensing that Chicago's going to take its timeout. Eric Owens will have a chat.
For my friends in the audience,
what do you think?
Who here wants to see the Carolina Gold Rush take the Golden Game right now? Make some noise for the Gold Rush.
imagine
Does anybody want to see the Chicago win? Take it down right now.
Lineup for the Chicago wins, not having Dan Liu as he prepares for the Olympic trials.
2 seconds left. The Gold Rush holding on to a 4-point lead. This game is to 21 points.
Yeah, I agree with it. Just get rid of the spin it up and then you attack that. But the best is going to be half
one single point, that golden point in the Golden Game. It's a rare feat, but it could happen.
Where? Middle forehand. Middle. Here she's safe. Yeah.
Let's go, buddy.
On the court, looking confident.
So the bench trying to get Tim to play away from the backhand. Hong's very stable on the backhand
9-13
against power. Not scared to play backhand counter against the male players. They want Tim to go for the middle, forehand or middle, and try and get Hong to play a softer opening with the forehand to try and counter as well.
Final point of this sequence. Will it be 4 or 2? It'll be 4. Hong Lin takes 3 out of 4. Those two players are done for the night unless this Golden Game reaches the ultimate golden point at 20 all. It has been quite a while since we have seen one of those, Matt. We have not seen one since the new year started. Last one was December 1st in the interdivisional weekend, Princeton over Texas coming from behind. Tan able to take one of the 2 points on Dupont's serve. What's the key for Emily here on the serve? How aggressive should she be?
On the follow-up, aggressive. I think has to stay tight on the serve. She doesn't want to go too long. She does a great job of building off the first ball. So if she can get the first attack in and get the other player to play softer. I mean, this is a perfect example. Dupont, he went straight into backhand block mode.
Emily Tan, ladies and gentlemen. She just won 5 out of 8 points over Bastien Dupont. Once again, the Wind are back within 2 as Hanen and Angles return to the table. Enzo has 2 serves first. Oh, he missed it. Sitting up there for him. Excellent short return for Hanen. 1 point game. That's 2 in a row for Hanen on Enzo's serve. And Chicago has an opportunity right here to take their first lead of the Golden Game. Let. Hanen can't believe it.
He went for it. Let's see, Brossier and Dupont, Brossier and DeSantillan there in the background, checking out how the Golden Game's proceeding.
How about that? All 4 points won by the returner. Major missed opportunity for Sasha Khanin. Enzo earns the split. And now it's Pinto versus Lawrence. If Pinto could take 3 out of 4, I really like Chicago's chances with Provost against Hazien coming up. That's a break for the Wind. Remember, Matt, 23 consecutive Golden Games have been won by the team that started in front. The last time a team came back, it was Chicago against Carolina. 17 all.
Wind to serve.
Are we seeing the Wind rise again? Deep serve caught Lawrence off guard, and for the first time in this Golden Game, Chicago's in front.
I've just looked over into the corner, and Koya was standing there with the biggest grin on his face. There's a handful of players from the other teams.
Just to put ball back. Like if you spin the ball.
Quick timeout.
Quick conversation. Timeout was taken by Carolina. It's the final timeout for either side. 1 more point for Pinto and Lawrence. Provost and Hazien will be on the table next. Will it be tied, or will Chicago have the 2-point lead? Oh, Roman Lawrence with an impressive turnaround. 18 all.
The ultimate dismissal from Roman Lawrence. Straight off the bounce. Pinto again caught stepping around.
Still, Hazien finds himself needing to split with Provost. Damien makes it 19-18. The finish line is very much in sight here for Chicago. It caught the net. It's a tough break for Carolina. Something we have not seen in over 2 months, Matt Hetherington. Could come to fruition right here on Damien Provost's serve. Match point. And it's over! Chicago comes from behind to take down Carolina to start this final regular season East Division weekend of the season. A 12-9 win for the Wind.
What a finish from Damian Provost. I mean, from the start of this match, you'd almost never imagine it was possible. The Carolina Gold Rush had led 7 points to 2. But those close matches that were clutched by the Chicago Wind, those tight games that were won by just 1 or 2 points.
Right. 7 games decided by 1 or 2. 5 of those 7 points went to Chicago. And then obviously some great stuff in the Golden Game, particularly from Daniele Pinto and Damian Provost. Not to mention Sasha Khanin holding his own against Angles. And Emily Tan, 5 out of 8 against Dupont.
Yeah, I mean, she has performed really well. I'd actually say, I don't know what the stats are on this, and I'm sure you probably don't either. But
how dare you?
Comparing how Emily performed against female players in the Golden Game versus how she's played against the male players, from what I recall from her matchups with male players, I think she performed better. She rose to the occasion.
Well, I'd like to tell you all about that, but we got Damian Provost on headset. Damian, congratulations. After you had upset Carolina in January, we had seen the leading team across the league win the Golden Game 23 times in a row until now.
Okay.
How did you all engineer this comeback to win the Golden Game?
I think the lineup was good. The coach did something very good with the lineup. We mixed up the things, and I think it's good to shuffle the things up a little. And we all played pretty well. It's the first time, I think, since the first ever match here that I played someone a little bit lower, like a CD player. So it was a little different. So I was a little bit anxious at the beginning, but I got lucky the first point I won. And then I felt a little more free, and and it ended up well for us. But yeah, it's nice.
And if you look back at the season of Major League Table Tennis, I mean, out of everybody here, when it comes to playing different leagues, you're the player who's, I don't even know how many leagues you're playing right now or have been for the last seasons. But what have your overall feelings been about Season 1 of Major League Table Tennis?
It's a very different format, and I feel the format is very, very exciting. This Golden Game, like I used to say, it's like either like it's a nightmare, but so good also at the same time. And I think it's so entertaining for people. And I think it's like a genius idea to do something like this, because it's 15-10, but with the different lineup, everybody will still watch what's going on, because it can shift very fast. And I think it's like an amazing idea, and the match, like everything counts. So okay, we didn't do a good season, but still, I really like the format. I think it's very interesting for people to watch, and it will keep growing, I think, because of it.
What would it mean to you and your teammates to finish off the season really strong this weekend?
It's very important. I watched. I couldn't play last month, and I watched what I could on TV because I had other matches, and I texted the guys as soon as it finished, and said, "Okay, guys, we didn't play so good, and we need to end the right way." I felt they were a little bit down, a little bit like sad at the end of the weekend, and it's very important. I don't know how we will finish, but it's important to fight until the end, because next season is coming soon, and I'm already looking forward for the next season. I don't want to have a second season like this. I like to win. I don't like to lose. So I will make sure, and we will fight so much to get a better ranking and qualify for Final Four next season.
Before we let you go, I'm going to put you on the spot. What does your gut tell you? Who's going to emerge ahead this weekend, Florida or Princeton?
I think there are different lines up. To me, I think Princeton is a little bit more consistent in the team. They can switch a little bit more the players. They have a little bit more options. I feel. Florida has an amazing leader, like Daniel. Daniel is an amazing leader. So the first match is Daniel will play. And it's already going to be very important. We want to stay here to watch this. We would prefer to be in this position. Sure. But it will be very fun to watch. It's the most exciting match since the beginning of the season because it's really going to be intense. And I told the guys, like it's 18-17. And I'm like, wow, I feel so stressed and we have nothing really to lose. And I'm so nervous. So I told Sasha or Alex, I said, okay, like, imagine, it would be 18-18 and I play here. So these guys will be so stressed. And but that's what we like also because that's when you win, it's amazing. So. Yeah.
Well, you just sold it well. Thanks for setting the table and sharing your perspective. Congrats on this win today, and best of luck the rest of the weekend, Damien. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
That's Damien Provost. Take a quick look at the standings. The Wind upset the Gold Rush to start the weekend. Perhaps a bunch of surprises brewing this weekend. Who knows, Matt? I mean, we have seen crazy things happen throughout the season. Right now, Princeton has a 3-point lead over Florida. Carolina has clinched a playoff spot. They have not clinched the top spot in terms of the #1 seed. But let's chat with Eric Owens. Eric, I just mentioned it to Damien. Since your January come-from-behind win over Carolina, across the entire league, we had not seen a single team come from behind to win the Golden Game. It had been 23 straight Golden Games since you started that January 2024 weekend. What is it about coming from behind in the Golden Game, even if it's just a 1 or a 3-point deficit, that you think has been so difficult, and how did your team overcome that gap today?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting stat. I mean, I would say the Golden Game is all about momentum. And so when you start behind, the first couple of points and the matchups are so important because if you lose the first few points, then now the deficit goes from 3 to 5 to 6, and now the morale of the team goes down a little bit. The pressure on the incoming player becomes greater, and now they're performing less. And so I think as a coach, I think about how can I get some points right away to minimize that deficit, get some momentum, make the other team nervous. And, we were able to do that. We were able to hang in. I mean, these guys, what I love about the team is they just never give up. So they always fight. There's a ton of fortitude. But I would say it's a combination of having a ton of fight, but it's really, really important to have proper matchups and good momentum in the beginning.
Well, your 17-year-old female player, Emily Tan, came to the table in the Golden Game. Your team was down 4-0. She kind of started to create some equilibrium. She got the 2-2 split with Dupont. Then she took 3 out of 4. What did you like about Emily going into that matchup?
Yeah, I think Emily and Dupont was a great matchup for Emily. That was a matchup I was hoping to get. So we strategically picked some other matchups, hoping to isolate that one. There were some matchups we wanted to avoid against Emily based on previous experiences. And so I feel like when we look at the matchups of this Golden Game, we were able to really capitalize on everything and get exactly what we wanted.
And obviously, when we spoke a little bit in Rock Hill in your interview, when you turned around this streak and you won some matches, the thing that came up for you has kind of been a theme throughout the season. I can't imagine the number of hours that you've stayed up at night thinking about the Golden Game. It was so difficult for you guys in the beginning. You've invested, obviously, a lot of thought and a lot of deliberate strategy into the Golden Game. What have some of the keys been for you? I mean, you've kind of now almost blazed a trail for the rest of the league about how they approach putting the female player into the roster. Not being scared to put the female player against the men. And, you know, Emily's just performed brilliantly, and we've seen it in the West Division, you know, with Rachel Sung playing well against the men. Take me through that process across the season of figuring out the nuances of the Golden Game and how that's helped you guys across the season.
Yeah, the Golden Game has been frustrating for us. And, you know, the first half of the season, I think at one point we had the best singles record in the league and the worst Golden Game record in the league. And we're in 4th place in our division. So the Golden Game is really, really important. And I think we were sort of just going by the normal line of thinking is you put the girl against the girl.
Yeah.
And, you know, the more I started analyzing it, it just, there were other matchups that would favor Emily's game. And some of the other women on the other teams, they just had a natural advantage over Emily. And so it just stopped making sense, and it started making sense putting Emily against an appropriately matched male and then opening up that position for a male to go against the female on the other team.
Yeah.
And so we've been experimenting with that and trying a couple of different things, and I feel like it's completely turned our Golden Game around.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that other teams will probably start exploring.
Right.
You know, who we start with. You know, I've got some interesting ideas and thoughts on who to start the Golden Game with that, you know, historically you start with your best player, and I haven't been doing that, and I think it can throw other teams off because now they're not really sure what's going to happen after that. And so starting with like a middle range player that can kind of play deep and play everybody, and then get to see what the other teams do after that, I think it has given us a natural advantage. And so we've got some other tricks up our sleeve. But yeah, we put a lot of thought and a lot of strategy into the Golden Game.
Eric, congratulations on pulling out the win tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Eric Owens, the Hall of Famer, the head coach of the Chicago Wind. Well, we just saw something that we've only seen one other time in 25 matchups this year. Look, it's something that we saw almost 3/4 of the time, or almost a quarter of the time, I should say. You know, teams going with a lead going into the Golden Game won about 73% of the time in 2023. It had been 96% in 2024, but Chicago with a comeback. Quick final thought, Matt.
It's all about the Golden Game.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, if you don't take that away from Eric Owens' little seminar there, then I can't help you.
All righty. Perhaps the match of the year is coming up in just about 20 minutes. The Princeton Revolution and the Florida Crocs battling for playoff position. That is coming up here shortly. But for now, on behalf of our entire crew, from Matt Hetherington, I'm Evan Lepler. So long after a Chicago win here in New Jersey.